Hello and welcome to the Video Game Dads podcast. This is episode 5, guys.
Woo!
Yeah, woo, woo. We're the woo girl.
Woo, woo.
Welcome to this independent podcast where 3 guys in a basement discuss gaming, fatherhood, and everything in between. I'm one of your 3 hosts. I'm Benjamin.
I'm Shane.
And I'm Adam.
All right, and where can we find us, guys? On email?
You can find us on email at videogamedads@yahoo.com.
Yeah, videogamedads@yahoo.com. Thank you. We've got a couple emails we'll talk about later, but yeah, send us your emails, anything under the sun. We appreciate getting any feedback or anything like that. And then
And you could catch us on Facebook also, facebook.com/videogamedads.
Yeah, and on the Twitters at videogamedads. So, guys, it is now a new year. It's 2017.
Woo-hoo.
We made it.
Yeah,
We made it.
Yeah, we made it. Oh, and also, if you our intro music that you heard and our outro music and any kind of little plugs we do in the middle, that's done by a guy named Evan King. So if you're curious about his stuff, just look him up. Evan King, retro video game music. But anyway, that is the provider of our music, in case anybody's wondering that. So, guys, what should we talk about first? The Video Game Book Club
We
of
can do
last
Video Game
time.
Book
Why don't we do that
Yeah.
first?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we'll talk about our new year, things like that, but why don't we get our book club out of the way? So for those new and just joining us, our Video Game Book Club is where, the ladies of the neighborhood get together and have a book club and drink their wine. We do that, except it's not wine we're drinking, it's beer. Or if we're driving out here, it's nothing, I guess. And instead of the book, we discuss a video game that we each kind of pick for the week, play it, have a chance for you guys to play it, and then we discuss it much like a book club. So last time, it was Adam who got to pick, and we ended up picking
Shinobi 3.
Shinobi 3 for the Sega Genesis. And, the other nice thing we'll allude to early, we did get some suggestions this time, and in fact we got 3. We went from not having any for weeks, so now we got 3 suggestions, so we're going to have to throw them up in the air and catch one and see which one picks. So I think what we'll do is any suggestions we're going to kind of more or less put them in a hat, so to speak, and then pick it when it's time for our fans to kind of pick a video game book club. So any suggestions you have, you'll do that at videogamedads@yahoo.com. So, Adam, you picked Shinobi 3.
Shinobi 3.
And hopefully all of our listeners got a chance to maybe play that.
Yeah.
Why did you pick that?
Well, I was trying to think of something that, maybe was kind of mainstream-ish, not super expensive, and maybe something that a lot of people haven't played.
I haven't played it.
Yeah.
You, Shane?
I haven't played it. I haven't played it before.
Yeah, so I thought that it would be a nice fit. Plus, it's a very Sega game.
Yeah.
And we got to give a little bit of love to Sega at some point.
Yeah. That's Sega's Ninja.
And it's a game I played recently, and I really liked it. So I thought maybe you guys would like it too. So that's how I came to that choice. And on the last podcast, I told you I didn't know what Shinobi meant.
Yeah.
And my mother is a listener. Hi, Mom.
Meatloaf!
Yeah. Please provide me with meatloaf, Mother. At any rate, so my mom, who is actually a librarian, must smite ignorance wherever she finds it.
Oh, yeah.
So she actually sent me a link explaining the word shinobi, and it actually just means ninja.
Oh, nice.
Which makes perfect sense.
She made you go through 10 degrees of Kevin Bacon just to
Exactly.
find
So
out that it just means
I'm like, thanks for
ninja.
telling me I'm a goober, Mom.
Yeah,
I appreciate
thanks,
it.
Ma.
Yeah, thanks, Mom.
Hey, we appreciate it. Keep us in check.
Yeah.
They're the ones that make sure our
Yeah.
pants are on straight and our shirt's not inside
So
out.
that's right.
we know
And then
what
she drove to my
Shinobi
house
means.
and wiped something off my chin.
Yep. Oh, man. Okay, so Shane, you got to play this a little bit. I think we'll just kind of go around like we usually just, the 2 that didn't pick it, give their thoughts, and then we go back to the original guy. And, yeah.
I really enjoyed it. It's a really good game. Had some good power-ups and stuff. He throws ninja stars. I mean... Shurikens. I didn't know if that was the correct term, but yeah, I'll go with it. Shurikens. It's sort of weird, though. It's a really good game, but to me, I'm still going to say I've been talking to these guys about it, but I think he's really stiff. He needs to do some yoga or something because he is just so stiff. The jumps are just really... it's hard to explain. Like, I was trying to explain it to you, but I don't know. It's just really
So
hard.
you're like you just saying his movement's pretty stiff.
Yeah,
and
his movement's really
animation's pretty
stiff, but like you were saying something about, like a ninja sort of moves that way.
yeah, they kind of
per se.
like Ninja Gaiden. If you guys remember back on the NES, the top half of him holds perfectly still, and the bottom half is like Roadrunner.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the ninja thing. So when you say a
Yeah.
stiff ninja, I say, well, good, because they're not supposed to be all lanky.
Yeah,
I guess
well,
I guess I want my ninjas like flexible
Well,
and doing
they
stuff.
totally
I guess.
like. I mean, for a ninja, he's like a really muscular, like
Yeah.
solid looking
He is,
Dude, yeah.
dude. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely like '90s, action movie style.
Yeah, that's-
like
yeah.
some crap's gonna blow up, some heads are gonna get cracked.
Yeah, yeah.
Like he's just that kind of character. So I think it's sort of ninja for the '90s.
Yeah.
I think maybe something now might be a little bit more
Yeah.
nuanced, but yeah, they definitely made him look like a tough
The
guy.
stages were really cool. I mean, what do you think of like what were you?
Well, what'd you
thinking of?
like?
Uh,
Besides having kind of a stick up his rear.
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, the things I liked were the music was really good. It was interesting.
Yeah, good music.
It's got like Adam was saying, it's got this kind of general. The Sega Genesis sound is very different than any other system, and it sounds very Genesis-y.
Yeah.
But the music is very well done. I thought the graphics were really good.
Yeah.
It has the parallax scrolling,
Yeah, yeah.
and the
There's
parallax
a whole
scrolling.
bunch
For
of
those who don't
different
know, it's
layers
kind
and
of like
background.
like one of those like little what is it like one of those books that you pull out and you can kind of see 3D where the background starts to move slightly, the next level of background
Yeah.
moves a little faster, so it gives this kind of weird illusion of 3D, which is just kind of a neat touch. And they had that on all the stages. I thought all
Yeah.
the stages played really differently. For never playing this game, this would have been one I really liked as a kid.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy.
No, that wasn't easy.
It was, which I liked about it. You can pick like easy difficulty, but it was pretty challenging. All the enemies were pretty different. It started out, the funny thing, when I started out the first stage, I'm like, oh, this is kind of boring. Like you just kind of throw
Yeah.
shurikens at the first like 20 dudes and you're not going anywhere. So I think another fault would be it doesn't start out like a nice action movie
Yeah.
or something like like you always think like Dark Knight or something where it starts out with a cool
Yeah.
bank robbing scene. This started out with like waiting in line at the DMV.
Well, just-
after that, it got really good. You're on like a horse at one point.
yeah, the second stage. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
That second stage sort of switches it up on you.
And the bosses are pretty cool. The bosses have kind of a Metroid feel to them where they're different stages. They take up half the screen sometimes. They're pretty repetitive as long as you learn their little system. But I thought the gameplay was good. The stiffness I kind of got. I think also the sprite, which is the character, was kind of large. So
Yeah.
it was
Maybe
kind of
that.
hard. And this is back when they hadn't quite figured out always what to do when you can't see quite off screen. And you could climb up. The levels weren't just left and right linear. You could kind of go up and down through
Yeah, you
them.
could jump on the wall. And
Yeah, there
climb
were
and
aliens.
that.
I thought it was pretty sci-fi-y too for being
Yeah.
a ninja thing. Most of the time you fight guys in big long tree areas. You'll fight guys inside a pagoda. But no, this was like you're in like an alien ship at one point.
Yeah, you're in like a factory where they're growing
Yeah.
humans.
So how much does this game normally go for, Adam?
I
cost.
looked it up for a complete in-box copy.
'Kay.
It runs between $25 to $30 or so. You can
Yeah.
get a loose cart for 10 or $15.
10 or 15. Okay, yeah. I mean, I'd say that's worth it. Nowadays, and I'm sure if you find it somewhere at a swap meet or something, or find it, in a little $2 bin, definitely pick it up.
Heck yeah.
I thought it was really good. Adam, what other things did you like
Well,
about it?
I mean, it's kind of like it's sort of like they got together for the planning meeting on this, and everybody's like, "Okay, what do you think is cool?" There's like 5 or 6 or 7 people in a room, and then one of them's like, "I think horses are cool," and then another one's like, "I think robots are cool," and then so. The neat thing about the game is as you go through it, every stage is like completely disconnected from the stage before it. It's
Yeah.
a totally different style, plays completely different, looks completely different. The bosses are completely different.
Yeah.
Like it's just a very random kind of game, but kind of random in a good way.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't get super repetitive. I mean, I guess my biggest gripe about the game, if I have a gripe about it, is just the fact that it's a one player only, experience.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
pretty typical of Shinobi.
Yeah,
Just all the other
it's a
players.
one-player
Sure.
thing, and it all happens. All the action does truly happen in a 2D plane.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about other beat 'em up style games of the same vintage, things like Ninja Turtles Arcade or Streets of Rage or those kinds of things. You can kind of walk back and forth.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see. Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's at a more isometric perspective, so it plays a little bit differently than those games. It actually I feel like plays kind of like a Contra game, maybe a little less challenging than a lot of the Contra games, but kind of has the same sort of feel to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also thought, so there's 3 buttons. There's a jump, there's an attack, and there's also kind of like a special weapon. I forget what they call it, but it's some long...
Hadouken, or what? Yeah, I can't
I
remember.
have
what
no
they-
idea.
Yeah.
But basically, your super, right? And your
Yeah.
super, like, clears the screen. They don't do a good job explaining. There's like 4 different ones. They don't really explain what each of them do.
And none of them are really that great.
Yeah, so one of them is like a fire one that kind of hits people, but I used it on a boss and I couldn't tell what it really did.
Yeah.
Another one, it like makes you turn into 3 guys and you move faster. Again, don't really know what it did. One of them is like a lightning bolt that gives you kind of a shield,
Yeah.
which was the first one I originally thought might be the lamest, was actually probably the best.
Probably
'cause
the
it lets
best
you
one,
get
yeah.
it lets you get hit 3 times without it counting.
Yep.
So that's another kind of thing I didn't think was too great. I thought the little supers weren't that good. It would have been better if that would have let you change weapons, because all you're doing is throwing the shurikens over and over, and when you run out, you use your sword. But
Yeah.
even if you don't run out, you have to use the shurikens.
Yeah, I wish I could use the sword at any
Yeah.
time, because man, that animation when it does it, it feels so good. It's just it's
some-
right.
Not a perfect game. There's some, but the
With that
things
said,
that
though,
are the things that are good about it
It's
are enough
good.
to definitely recommend checking it out if you have a Sega Genesis, and
Yeah.
especially if
Yeah,
you.
and it actually, in a way, kind of works like Metal Slug, where if an enemy is far from you, you're shooting something, and basically you automatically convert to your close weapon, which is
Yeah,
your sword, and chop them to bits.
Yeah, you
if
could
they're-
chop
if
'em.
they're nearby.
Yeah.
I just love to be able to pull out that sword and just hack up some people, though. That'd be really sweet.
Yeah, or at least be able to like trade it off and
Yeah,
turn
trade it
on,
off. Yeah,
turn
exactly.
it off.
Yep.
Yeah, but I thought it was overall a really good game. Yeah.
All right.
So that is our video game book club of the week, Shinobi 3. So I figured, Adam, if you're like queuing up the emails, really we've had 3 suggestions for games this week. Do you have them ready, Adam?
Okay, so our first email is from Steve. And Steve writes to us, "Hey guys, love the show." Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Steve.
I'm not yet a dad, but it's definitely on the horizon. I've been a fan of video games ever since I was able to hold an NES controller. My family didn't have a lot of money when I was growing up, so we never had a lot of games, but every Saturday morning my mom would take my older brother and myself to a local video game store to rent a game for the weekend. I think I can
Yeah, I think we all
definitely,
relate to that.
Oh, yeah.
relate to this.
Yep.
So we would usually play it for hours into the night, usually repeatedly renting the same game over and over until we beat it. And as you've mentioned, games were a lot harder back then. Anyways, I believe one of our rental favorites would make a good pick. And for the Video Game Book Club, and that's Maniac Mansion. It's a bizarre but very enjoyable game that I've been meaning to add to my collection. Thanks, guys, for entertaining me on my drive to work, and keep up the good work. Enjoy each show. It keeps getting better and better. So thank you, Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks. Maniac Man, you guys ever play that one?
I've never played it. I've seen it. It looks really cool and interesting. It's got
It's
like
for the
5 people on the cover.
what system?
NES.
Okay,
NES.
NES.
Yep, NES.
Yeah, and I've heard good things about it. It actually has a big, long story.
To it, yeah.
Tortuous story to its development, from what I understand.
Yep.
But something I'd definitely be interested in playing. I actually got it pretty recently. I got it just a few months ago.
It's about what, like $30 game ish?
I think so.
I think so, 'cause
Yeah,
I
I think it's around there. Yeah.
And it was
Okay.
kind of cool. I bought some games from a guy, and he was like, "Hey, you're buying these other games. Do you want Maniac Mansion?" And I'm like, "Oh boy, do I!" And so he just kind of
Heck
threw
yeah.
it in, and so I've actually, it's on my, I mean, my backlog is kind of ridiculous at this point, but it's definitely something I would like to play. So
Yeah.
so that one would be great. By
That'd
me.
be cool.
Cool.
And then we have another pick. It's kind of a longer email, but it says, "I have Legend of I guess it's Kage is the way it's spelled, Kage. I have Legend of Kage, but it's pronounced Kage from what I
Oh,
understand.
yeah, I've heard both ways. So Legend of Kage is supposedly, I think, what it was meant to be. But, it's Cage here. But I think it's one of those tomato. You could do either. But supposedly, I think the more correct way to say it is Legend of Kage. And it's spelled Kage.
Yeah, Kage.
For the NES.
Yeah, for the NES. So that's our second. Basically, the email says that played it a lot as a kid, don't remember it really well, but remember having a lot of fun with it, and so suggested for the Video Game Book Club.
And who is that from?
That's from Dan.
Okay, Dan from Dan and Cody podcast.
Yep.
Great.
Thanks, Dan.
I never seen that game before, so that'd be interesting if we get that one.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
So yeah, I've been mispronouncing it forever. I think I've always been like,
the only,
Legend of Kage.
the only reason I might know that is because I saw a video once of somebody mentioning that and said it. Yeah.
I wonder if that's even accurate. If it's just something like
somebody said anyway.
It's not tomato, it's tomato.
Yeah.
And then we have a third email from Lindsay recommending Mickey Mania for the Genesis. Said that she really enjoyed the artwork and the stylings of that game, and it kind of takes her back to childhood.
Okay,
old
cool.
Disney
Yeah,
stuff,
that'd be
that
cool.
sort
I
of
like
thing.
it.
And
So our listeners are doing good. They're picking things that are like not, it isn't Super Mario 3. Great game, by the way, great game. But like something that maybe not everybody played, because we're all video game guys and we haven't really played this stuff.
No.
Mickey Mania I haven't either. I've heard the Mickey games are actually really good platformers.
Yeah.
But I only recently played one where they did a remake or re-release on the PSN for free, I think, on PlayStation Plus. So I got to play them, and they're good. I just never played them growing up. I think, I was at that age where Mickey was a little too young for me, so I'd rather go for any other character really that popped up, even like Sonic or whatever.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember back I'm sure I played Mickey Mania back in the day, but I remember that whole group of Disney games from around that time.
Yeah.
Castle of Illusion,
Magical Quest or whatever.
Jungle Book, Disney's Aladdin,
Lion King.
King.
I played Aladdin for the
All those are good games.
They all
man.
but they all had really nice sprite work. Like the animations in them looked really, really good, and there were always these multi-level, multi-tiered games.
Yeah.
They were a little bit more complex than what you would think, and they weren't bad games, even though that they were licensed games.
And difficult on purpose. I remember reading something that they made the Disney games difficult on purpose because they didn't want them easily beaten or returned so darn quickly. Specifically, the Lion King game was made. There's a couple levels in there that are just completely uncalled for, really hard, and those were done on purpose when there was new developer interviews saying like we had to kind of make this quasi impossible because that's what we were told what to do.
Yeah.
Aladdin for the Genesis. The reason why that game looks so good, and if you've never played it, that's an easy pick up to play, and a lot of people have good memories for it because it was a real popular game back in the day and still real inexpensive. Aladdin for the Genesis looks so good because it actually had the real animators from the movie.
Oh yeah, it's like the exact same sprite.
Doing the video game. Yeah, and it's not just a copy and paste. They literally, Disney being Disney, they're like, hey, let's throw our animators in there. They use the old animators to create the animation for this game. And it's funny what you can do, what talent does, because these systems are the same for everybody. And you look at different Genesis games, and that game just, it looks like it's like a Super Genesis, going from regular Nintendo to Super Nintendo. And it's just because they use those, obviously, world-renowned, highly talented animators to do. But that's why Genesis looks so good, because it was done by the guys who made the movie, and the movie obviously looks amazing.
I played more of the Super Nintendo one, so it didn't look quite as good as that, but it was still awesome, though. I beat that game, actually. So
I remember
great.
I remember we, back when people still shopped at Sears.
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 Electronics Center Sears, man. I used to buy my games there.
Yeah, so, because you could get your tools and your clothes and your new lawnmower and your video games.
And your TV.
And your TV and your new tires.
And you could shock the heck out of your sister in that TV section. Do you guys remember? So kids nowadays, they don't understand static electricity. I remember in Sears, they would have a wall of TVs, stacked up, 35-inch monitors. And I would go, and of course the floor would be not carpet or something. I would go and wipe my hands all over. I'd be 8, and my sister was 10. Wipe my hands all over the TV and go and just get real close. Now, the way to shock somebody, if you don't know, is actually don't touch them quickly. Get as close as you can without touching them, and then you get a good arc. And I remember I would see the electricity hitting her, and she would just scream, boy. That's a good memory of mine. Not so much
your
my
mom
sister.
loved you in the store.
That was the most sociopathic thing I ever heard in a while.
An 8-year-old boy, they're all sociopaths. I mean, come on,
true,
cause and effect. That was awesome. Because you do it at your home TV and you get a little shock. It's not much. But if you build up 5 or 6 Sony Trinitrons from 1994, you instantly are electro.
I know. They didn't even need the plutonium, man.
I could have been
a future. They could have just
You got
some
50
Sony
gigawatts
tunes on.
just right on
Yeah,
your sister
right
right there. Gone.
Good memories. Well, anyway, okay, so we have 3 suggestions. We got this little generator app that randomly picks one,
All
and
right.
if it doesn't get picked, we're going to leave it in the pool to get picked at a future time. But anyway, we appreciate
thank
people.
you.
Yeah,
People,
so the earlier you get your suggestions in, the longer they're in the pool, and the better chance they have to get picked.
yeah, don't pee in
So-
our pool.
Yeah, no pee in the pool.
All right, drum
right.
roll.
And it looks like it's Legend of Kage.
Hey,
All right.
good.
All
This
right.
is
All
the one
right.
I kind of wanted anyway. Good. All
Yeah,
right, Legend of Kage.
I'm kind of interested in this one because I'm unawares as to I don't have any frame of reference.
Yeah.
I don't either. So this will be interesting.
Yeah, it's good. It's actually kind of
Mysterious.
yeah, and actually it goes in the same segue from like Shinobi. It's obviously different from Shinobi, but I think it starts out you're like in the jungle. The sprite's a lot smaller, but it's like a ninja. And it's a really cool game for the NES. I played it a long time ago. I don't really remember much about it besides that, but it's a action platformer.
Oh, nice.
That is
Love
not
that.
very linear. I think you can go pretty like high and low, like many different levels or something. But we'll check it out. So Legend of Kage for the NES. Check it out. That is going to be our game for the Video Game Book Club of the week.
Sweet.
All right.
All right. So we'll move on to talk about what we've been collecting.
Yeah, what have you been
here
collecting,
lately.
Adam?
Too much. I said on the last podcast I was going to slow down, or I didn't say slow down because that's not really possible for me because I have a problem. But I said I was going to focus on NES and Wii U, which I have done.
Yeah, you did.
In my
Keep
defense.
it there. Yeah.
So I happened to be. I was like, I had the day off of work, and so I said I'm going to go like shop. Maybe look for some things. And I guess I'll go ahead and divulge how many NES games I have at this point. But I've got 537 unique games.
Oh, boy.
537.
So there's, depending on how you want to count them, there's 800 and some odd or close to 900 total. But there's licensed games. There's all kinds of different ways you can break them out.
Break it down,
And
yeah.
there's official games. There's unofficial games. There's
So you've been collecting
promotional
these
stuff.
for a while. There's a few people out there that have the entire NES set.
Yeah.
The only thing with the NES is there's a couple out there that you want to say heavy hitters. They're like a used Honda.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm not
Prices.
I'm not looking to get a complete set. I'm just looking to,
Doing the best you can.
I'm just a working guy doing the best I can.
There's something to be said about a nice little goal. And again, this is our library. These are, investments. You'll pass it on, whatever. You're a grown man with a grown job. You can collect whatever the heck
That's
you want. There's
darn-
no excuses.
darn right.
Yeah.
It's not weird. It's cool.
So you picked up some NES games.
So yeah, so I got some NES games, and so I went to this random store.
Do you
that
have Legend of Kage?
I do have Legend of
See, you
Kage.
have it. Yeah.
I have it. I just haven't. And I actually think I'm fairly familiar with the NES library, but it's just one that I've.
That
well, I
was
mean, it's just one that I don't have any frame of reference. So when I
Sure.
go to the shelf and I'm like, what do I want to play, I just never have really picked Legend of Kage.
yeah.
But at any rate, I went to this store and they had just a ridiculous amount of rare and expensive NES games, things that you don't see.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, it's kind of sad actually, but somebody passed away, I guess, who had these, and the family members have basically been taking them to the store in little lots and selling to the store. So and I'm sure they're getting just peanuts for them.
Yeah.
So
I know, that's
sad.
I wish I
That's
could
so sad.
somehow just be like, hey, here's my phone number. Call me. I will give you more
Yeah.
than this store.
Yeah, I mean, two things sad about it. Obviously, someone is passed
That's
away,
passed away.
and then the other side of it is like, they're giving you, 20 cents on the dollar of what they're worth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if that.
They're giving. Yeah.
But at the same time, like at least I mean, it's not like this is charity, so don't think I'm being too self-congratulatory. But if I buy them, I know at least they're. I mean, it's stupid, but at least I know they're safe. I know they're with a good collection,
Yeah.
and I know they're not going to get destroyed or torn apart,
Yeah.
or anything bad necessarily is going to happen to them. Minus, something catastrophic happening to my house or something.
Sure,
But-
yeah.
But so I feel like at least I'll keep them preserved, and it. Not to go off on too much of a tangent, but I part of the reason I collect is because, especially early games, it's kind of like early movies. Like a lot of the pre-1940s movies, like don't exist anymore because nobody said, "Hey, maybe
Yeah.
these are things that we should preserve
Sure.
for future people at some point because maybe somebody will eventually want to come back and look at these as a frame of reference."
Yeah.
And I know that there's ROMs online and everything else, but there's still something cool about having the cartridges,
Yeah,
having the
the
original
physical
artwork,
part.
et cetera,
Yep.
et cetera. So at any rate, I picked up a few games, and among those, I got Chip and Dale 2.
Ooh.
which is kind of a rare, expensive game. It's also actually a really good game. It's an action
I played the first
platformer.
one. The first one's really good.
Yeah, and I think the second one, and I have experience with the first one as well.
And it's a Capcom, right?
It's a Capcom game.
And I think this is actually better than the first one, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's a pretty polished game. I think it came out late, and therefore was a limited number and so forth. But I got that. I got RC Pro Am 2.
Oh, I used to have that.
Which I am a big fan of RC Pro Am 1, but there's a certain point in RC Pro Am 1 where, for those that don't know, it's kind of an isometric racing game.
Yeah.
Just a simple racing game. And it's kind of like Mario Kart before Mario Kart in a way.
Yeah, you can
It's
battle.
four-player, and you can
shoot
battle,
missiles.
you can shoot crap at each other and all this stuff. So this is kind of the better version of that. And RC Pro Am 1 kind of has some difficulty curve issues. Like, it just gets ridiculous hard in the middle of the game. And so I think this one's got a lot of those things evened out from what I've heard.
Good. You always like when they improve on the original.
Yeah. And so I've heard really good things about it. So I'm happy to have that. I got a game called Uncharted Waters, which I honestly don't know a whole lot about. It's an old Koei, I think that's how you pronounce it, Koei.
Oh, yeah.
Game. And it's supposed to be pretty good. I literally don't know much about it at all, so I'm looking forward to playing that. I got a game called Fire and Ice.
Ooh, yeah, Fire and Ice.
Which is a hard to find, sought after.
Shaquille O'Neal sells that, right?
That's
Icy Hot.
That's one of my favorite commercials because there's Shaquille O'Neal who's like this huge guy, and he's like, I use Gold Bond medicated powder and Icy Hot patches or whatever, and then he's like. And then they go to this little body model or whatever, and it's a guy that's like a third his size.
Yeah, it's not his knee.
Yeah,
this guy's as big around as his ankle.
Yeah, not a size 23 or whatever.
And he's putting this stuff on. So I always thought that was like a really funny commercial. But
I remember seeing actually I don't know where I was as a kid. They showed his sneaker at one point, and his sneaker's so big. All right, you guys know a paper towel roll.
Yeah,
it's a good 2 inches longer than a freaking paper towel.
Oh yeah, I saw one in a sporting memorabilia store one day that was autographed or whatever. Yeah, it looks fake. It looks like some store promo thing that they would put in the window to get your attention. But no,
Kazam is noted to be one of the worst movies ever.
It's horrible.
One of the best movies ever.
Oh no! It's not. It doesn't cross into that. It's so bad. It's good. Something else I forgot. Last time we mentioned Christmas Vacation, and we did not pick up on the analogy of last time we were here so long because before we started our podcast, we didn't have a plug plugged in, and it was so like the Christmas Vacation part where he's trying to get the house all started. And he's like, "What's going on? I checked every bulb. I did everything."
It was really annoying too.
Yeah, and so we were starting our podcast, and it sounded like we were talking out of a tin can, and we thought the mixer got messed up. Maybe his kid came down and messed with the settings. Something got broken, but it just all turned out like the USB wasn't plugged into our laptop after 30 minutes of troubleshooting, messing with stuff, and it just took the wife going into the back room and flipping the switch.
Yep.
That's all it took. But anyway, okay, go ahead.
All right, so
you're Shaquille O'Neal. Oh wait.
Shaquille O'Neal. I was going to bring up Shaq Fu since you brought up Shaquille O'Neal. And
Magic Johnson, Terror in the Windy City. Or no, what's Michael Jordan?
Michael Jordan, the Windy City.
Yeah, that was also a platformer where he threw basketballs and stuff.
But if you ever want to play a really good game, you should play Shaq Fu.
All right.
Yeah.
Shaq Fu.
You heard it here. It's almost as good as Kazam.
And Barkley, shut up and jam.
Man.
Forgot about that. There really were a lot of 90s inspired
games.
Licensed games.
They
were all good.
Scottie Pippens, whatever.
Think about it. They would not have a video
Slam,
game.
Street Slam by Scottie Pippen.
Yeah, they would not have a video game called Shut Up and Jam at this point anymore.
No.
I like that.
Yeah, and it had really 90s artwork on it too. The Shut Up and Jam.
Well, it was all because he had that thing Charles Barkley, for those who don't know, I don't know sports. He was a basketball player that was pretty polarizing. He was in the shadow, during the color. He was a great player at the time, definitely a top 10 talent, but kind of paled to the other guys who were big at the time, Jordan Johnson, that kind of thing. He was, but still really good player. He was kind of a dirty player. But if he would have been playing when Rodman came out, nobody would have thought anything. Because compared to Rodman and the stuff he would do, it was nothing. Or some of the other guys that came through in the early aughts. But anyway, he said he had this commercial I'm not a role model, and that was his way of then getting by with starting fights, saying things, cussing, pushing a ref, these kind of things. And so they were like, oh, let's use that attitude to make a video game called Shut Up and Jam. and that's kind of his. Anyway,
He also did
funny.
Speed Stick commercials too. Remember those travesties of commercials?
Uh-uh.
Oh my
No, I
gosh,
don't remember
yeah,
those.
man,
I'll have
they're
to Google
so
that.
bad. Oh,
Yeah, but if you want to
check
see
those
something
out.
that's super 90s, you should look up Street Slam with Scottie Pippen for the 32X and look at the cover art on that. Because
Oh, I haven't seen that.
It's pretty classic. I can show it to you later, but it's really good. So a couple other games I got Die Hard for the NES, which is also a pretty hard to find game, and it's Die Hard, so it's got to be good. They're all of the games based on movies are good, right?
Yeah,
Of course.
And
Friday the 13th.
and then the one that I'm really excited about, and this one I actually ordered from a guy on a Facebook group that I'm part of, so I'm hoping I don't get hosed. But I found a copy of Action 52 and got it
for the
NES.
what's the Action 52 for those that don't know?
So the Action 52, there's a lot of YouTube videos on it, so you can look at those, and it's a very bizarre game with a very bizarre story.
To say the very least.
So it's unlicensed, meaning this is not a game that Nintendo approved of. This is a game I'm pretty sure that Nintendo would regard the same as George Lucas regards the Star Wars Christmas special. Like, it doesn't exist. We don't know anything about it. Never should have happened. Anybody involved should be killed. But it's a collection of 52 games on a single cartridge, which sounds like a great idea, except they're all broken. They're horrible games. They don't play right, and it's just a horrible little thing. And it comes in this little plastic
clear, like plastic.
clear
looking-
plastic cartridge
Yeah.
with like a blue label on it.
You're telling me Cheetah Man was on there, right?
Yeah, the original Cheetah Man
Okay.
is on there, and so the story, I won't go into the whole thing, but the funny thing about this game is that the guy that made it or financed it basically got like his kids an NES, and then he got like a bootleg cart from Korea or someplace, and it had a whole bunch of games on it, and so he's like, well, if I make a game or a cartridge that has a whole bunch of games on it, I'll sell gazillions of them, and then I'll be mega millionaire, you know. And so he thought this was like his lottery ticket. So he hires like 3 programmers who have basically never made anything and puts them in a room and says, "Hey, make me a bunch of games to put on this cartridge or whatever." So and he gives them 3 months to do it. So you can imagine how these things turned out.
Yeah.
Such
Such a bad idea.
but somewhere in the middle of development, he decides so this is around the time the Ninja Turtles have gotten popular, and there's all these kind of hybrid human animal characters that have kind of gotten popular, and he's like, so we need a mascot to be able to do this. So he invents these people called Cheetah Man, which they kind of look like Ninja Turtles, except they're cheetahs. And that are kind of men. And so in the game,
And they stand upright because nothing
Yeah,
makes
they-
more sense than one of the fastest animal on 4 legs putting them upright and
yeah,
upright.
they're all muscly looking, you know,
Yeah.
and everything else. So
Oh man.
Like Rhino Men, they're so like they're if you would have taken a little more time, there would have been better ideas there. But anyway,
Yeah, so in the original packaging, it actually came with a comic book and some other stuff that I didn't get. But in this comic book, so this was going to be the new franchise, right? Cheetah Man.
Wow.
And you should Google a picture of Cheetah Man if you don't know, just so you have a frame of reference. But at any rate, in this promotional material, it says Cheetah Man soon to come. T-shirts, hats, like television series, a movie.
Man.
I think like there were all these promises of all these things that were going to come out Cheetah Man related, even though it's just like a thing this guy thought of that ended up on this crappy multi-cart video game. So the whole thing's really funny and sounds like it was conceived and brought about by like some manic 10-year-old or something. So it's like I said, just from a historical perspective, that's a really funny thing. But I'm going to be happy to have that for the collection just because it's such an oddball thing. And if you saw the rest of my collection, you know I like oddball stuff. So that's going to be a really nice fit. And then of course I had to get some Wii U stuff to get those going. So in the last podcast I talked about the fact that I needed a couple of rare-ish Wii U games, one of which was NBA 2K13.
Tell him the other one.
Which I got.
Tell him the other one.
And then I also got Barbie Dreamhouse Party.
Did you build your dream house yet?
I have not built a dream house. I'm pretty sure that one's going to stay in the wrapper.
Oh man, you gotta build your dream house.
But
man.
but it's rare, and I got it for $20, which is like really cheap for that game. So so I'm really happy about that. And I also got Batman Origins for the Wii U, which I'm pretty sure only I bought, and probably the guy that made it.
Huh. So how close are you to completing your little Wii U collection?
Oh, I think I'm at 107 games now, and so I lack about a little over 50 games or thereabouts.
Getting there, chugging along.
Yeah, and there's a few variants and different things I need too, but
the Wii U, the last system. Did I mention this before? It's the last system to read a disc-based game.
Yeah, it's the last of the old school.
It's the last of the old school. So what that means is obviously it's like, oh, my PS4 plays discs. Kind of not really. What it does is it rips the whole game and puts it on your hard drive. Same with the Xbox One. So even though you're not necessarily downloading, you get a physical copy. Actually, like reading the disc, it's going to be the last system that does that because the new Nintendo Switch is going to be cartridge based or a little memory cardish based. Yeah, and the days of hearing that drive go like crazy.
And speaking of, the Dreamcast is my favorite for that.
Yeah. The Dreamcast is loud. I know. The Sega Dreamcast is really loud, but it's funny. I had it for so long. I kind of got you do get used to it.
I love the way it sounds because you can tell the Dreamcast is really working for you.
That thing's working for you.
We're gonna play some games. Damn it!
Yeah,
it's pushing it to the limits.
Fax machine. Yeah.
No, and I remember actually when I got my Dreamcast, I'm like, I think it's broke.
Oh, really?
But the games kept playing, so I kept going. And then I talked to some other people. They're like, "Oh yeah, yours sounds like it's a grinding axle." And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, that's normal."
Yeah, that's how it's supposed to sound.
Ours sounds like that too.
Yeah, but anyway, the Wii U is the last one to do that. Okay.
So and then the other thing, I've talked about this on a previous episode, but I ordered a system called a Neo Geo Omega, which is just a Neo Geo. And it got shipped, and it actually arrived today while I was at work. And apparently, it came with a slip that I have to sign to accept. And so they took it back to the post office. And so I drove to the post office after work, right before they closed, and said, "Please give me my Omega." And they said, "No, we don't have it because the guy who delivers mail is not back yet." And so I leave town tomorrow morning, and I'm going to be gone for a week and a half, and I don't have an Omega, and I'm sad.
Oh, man.
Well, maybe it would have froze or something, because it's really cold out right now.
Yeah, it is. I'm glad they didn't leave it on the porch, but at the same time,
it is cold in the Midwest
my inside 10-year-old is a little upset.
Yeah.
He's weeping.
He's not happy. It's a first world problem, but he doesn't understand that yet.
And where are you going for this week?
I'm going back down to Oklahoma.
And that's where the kiddo's at?
Yeah.
How's he doing?
With the fam. Oh, he's doing good, man. It snowed down there too, so he did some sledding today.
Is this his first snow? He's remind me how old is Grayson?
He's 3, but he started life in Minnesota. So
okay,
yeah. So Grayson knows snow. He's no stranger.
All right.
Yeah, he's a Viking child, so he gets it.
Cool. Bo knows sports. Grayson knows snow.
What about your kids, Shane? As far as the snow is out, it's like 1 degree right now. It's like too cold.
We went outside last night, and my wife got off a little bit early. She took off a little early, got off about 4:45, and we went outside.
Don't say that. Her job might be listening.
Yeah,
she worked until 5.
She worked until 5:30.
She showed up 3 hours early.
Yeah, anyway, go ahead.
But no, so she showed up or got home early, and we went sledding in our backyard. We got a little bit of a hill, so this is Deacon's first snow that we've taken him outside in, and he's actually got to play in. So he was loving it. But his little cheeks, he's a little ginger, little redhead, so his cheeks are just beat up from the being so cold, man. Throw Deacon in the tub because we got the wrong gloves so when you grab it with the snow, the snow starts to melt in the glove because it's the wrong one.
Like cloth.
Yeah, it's a cloth one.
Yeah. I remember that as a kid. But you just tough it out.
Yeah. Well, he's like 1.5.
No, I know.
He had no idea,
but yeah, you don't care about the cold as you're a kid, so it's like you are the one that has to tell them oh crap.
Yeah.
Let's not get hypothermia. Let's not get frostbite.
I felt sort of bad. It's his first snow, and I got him up top of the hill, and I pushed him down. I pushed him pretty hard. And he went flying into the bushes, and I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna traumatize him.
Did you put a non-stick vegetable preservative?
No, I didn't. Yeah, I did. But these things are super slick. As soon as the kids would get on them, they start sliding down the hill. I'm like, geez, Louise. Louise, these
What's
things
that
are
there
awesome.
you're putting on your sled? This is a new polymer. I don't think I'm going to put any of that on my sled. It kind of my. I got a plate in my head. See, it's right here. My hair. Okay,
Christmas
sorry.
vacation reference.
I
for
know,
anyone
I
who
know.
doesn't know.
Yep. But yeah, that's.
But he did okay. He toughed
Yeah, he
it
did
out,
good. He
being in the
toughed it out.
bushes.
Yep, leaned in the bushes. He
How'd
was
Lexi
all right.
do?
Lexi loved it. She was wanting to go out today, but it was like the high of 15 degrees today. So I was like, nope, we're not going outside. No way.
You know, I was thinking about that. So I went to a Kansas City football Chiefs game a couple weeks ago, and we went to go see the Titans. It was freezing out that day.
That was the third coldest game.
Third coldest game.
Yep.
Yeah, and it felt like it. So at least this time I was really prepared. I wore like 20 layers. I had my like Superman onesie at the bottom. My buddy's like, you should wear that on the top. I was like, no, man, I just want to. And then
like when you say onesie, is this like go all the way to your feet, or is it more of a leotard configuration?
no, it's a
onesie?
It's one of those you see
Oh,
it in
boy.
like Target or whatever, where it's just like it's basically fleece and you can just step right in it. It's a big pajama.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and it was
Jammy Jam party.
yeah, man, it
Come
was.
here.
I tell you, it came in. It has a cape too.
This just gets better.
Yeah, but keep in mind this was under all the layers. The only thing that kind of stunk about is the zipper only goes down to about your belly button. So if you gotta go and leak at one point, you've got to like really.
So you have to take your leg out of the.
No,
of the
you just
onesie
have
be
to.
able
You just have to like hunch over like you're an old man to let the zipper go down to about at least a somewhat reasonable spot, and then not
I'm
cut
amazed
yourself.
you did not get arrested in the restaurant.
Yeah, I know. Well, you worry about guys know this, women don't, of the zipper scare. You've done it always when you're a kid. Kids do it now.
Was it the Frank or the Beans, honey?
No, it was neither. But I just, I know that. Yeah, something about Mary. It hasn't happened, but that's always a fear because as a kid, right? I haven't had that happen in a decade or two. But boy, when it happens,
oh boy,
oh my gosh, that's the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
Oh man. Anyway, I don't know. Now I'm traumatized just thinking about that. What were we talking about?
I don't remember.
Collections.
Oh, okay. No, like before that, we were just messing. I guess that was it, right?
Yeah.
We were talking about.
Just the kids sledding and stuff.
Oh yeah, kids sliding. Oh no, this is the whole part of bringing up. Sorry, the whole Chiefs game. So I got all sidetracked. with what I was
Chiefs,
doing.
Chiefs.
So it is freezing out. There is like super cold. What cold was it? Do you know? So you said it was the third lowest, like 2 degrees, 3 degrees.
Yeah, it was.
I think it was like 5 or 10.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's just say
it
5
was-
degrees.
Yeah.
There were people with kids there. Like there was a kid there that was like maybe 3 in jeans.
Nope.
Like walking towards the game. And there was another couple in front of us. I'm sorry, I know you guys like the game. They were holding an infant.
Oh, no way.
An infant. I don't care how bundled up you are. There's going to be
Nope.
some part of him exposed to skin.
How's that
I was like,
enjoyable for the infant or
I
slash
know,
the
dude.
parents when
I
the
was
kid
just
starts
like,
crying?
I don't know.
No
We
way.
hotline you.
The good news is when they got done with the game, they went to a nice heated theater and watched a pretty hard R-rated movie with them.
Probably.
No doubt. Yeah, might as well.
Oh,
Jeez.
good grief. Any video game dads out there, don't do that. Don't take them. Just, sell the tickets, watch it on a nice big screen, save them up and get the big screen. Don't take your kids out there. That just is like, oh my God. Well, it's not worth the injury to the kid, right? I mean, they can get
Not
it
even
so
miss the
much easier.
chance, yeah.
But anyway, that just floored me because you were saying like, oh, you didn't want her outside for a few minutes. Like, you're taking her 3 hours outside.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I feel like sometimes, we're sort of yuppie parents or whatever, or worry too much. But my kid, he's like, if it's got wheels on it, it's awesome. And so he loves like monster trucks and cars and anything fast or that crushes things.
Yeah.
And so the monster truck or monster jam, I guess
Yeah,
it's
the
called,
Monster
came to
Jam.
town.
Sunday.
Yeah. Sunday. So they had the monster jam. So I'm like, he like sees the commercial and he's like, he doesn't know how to say Monster Jam really, but he's like points like, yeah, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
So I got tickets to the Monster Jam. This has been a few months ago now, and so we go and I tell my mom that I'm taking the grandkid to Monster Jam. She's like, you better make sure he doesn't go deaf.
I know.
Get him earplugs. So we put earplugs in and then headphones over the
on top.
earplugs and everything else. And if you know a 3-year-old, they aren't real nuts about having headphones on. On the monster trucks are going around. So like. The whole thing, I'm just, he's like trying to tear him off, and I'm like stapling him to the side of his head, and so it was a struggle the whole time. But he actually really did enjoy it. But
those things are loud. You guys have been to those,
oh yeah,
right?
they're really
I've never
loud.
been to one.
Okay, so
No.
like I remember I went when I was younger, and I was like 10, and it was funny. It's like you step in, you're like, oh, and like you can hear the engine really echoes in the arena. But then as soon as they gun it, it's true. Like I could feel my eardrums just depreciating. Like it was just like, oh my God. So I ended up, they buy like $5 pairs of like earplugs, and then you can get through it. But no joke. Yeah, that is one you definitely need earplugs for. It's fun. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
Yeah, I know. I just want to know where Monster Truck Driver was on career day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
How do you
they
even
were
get started in that?
Sort of. They're like, well, you could cook food, or you could be a vet,
Yeah.
Like, but there wasn't ever a booth where they're like, yeah, you can drive a 20-ton vehicle that crushes other stuff.
Well, imagine that guy at that booth. He just has a mullet and like.
They're like, what do you do for a living? So he's like, kick ass. That's it. Yeah, and so there's like certain careers that they should have told us about, like because it could have totally changed my life if I would have really thought about
That'd be a
that.
sweet career,
back
man.
in the day. Yeah.
Every Sunday, just monster jamming.
Monster jamming, living the life, crushing old cars.
Heck yeah. What about you, Shane?
Collecting, so it's still slow for me. So I only picked up 5 games. I had a guy contact me. I met him at a garage sale, gave him my number, and he hit me up, and he finally found some games that he
Giving your number out to guys at garage sales. I see, Shane.
Yeah.
I see how you work.
I was
All right,
cheating
go
on you
ahead.
guys, but but he gave me a call, and he texted me, and he showed me.
He said, "Hey, what's up?"
So he had about 20 Dreamcast games. I had about 15 of them already, and the price was good. He only wanted about $5 a piece for them, so I picked up a few of them. One of them being Jet Grind Radio.
It's a good game.
Yeah, good
I
game.
love Jet Grind Radio.
And I don't have it incoming, so I got that.
Yeah, that's
Got
a launch
incoming.
title. Yep.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
And then he had 2 VMU memory cards in the box, so that was really cool. So I picked up both of those.
Cool.
But then I went to Salvation Army, and I was able to pick up $2 games. They had Pikmin. I never find games at Salvation Army, so this is pretty cool. I found Pikmin. I found Sonic Battle Adventures 2.
Mm-hmm. I love Pikmin.
Yeah. And I found... What was the other one? I can't remember the other ones, actually. They weren't very good. They actually probably overpaid for them being $2, but, I mean... It was just nice to see games. I think I went a little crazy because I was like, they actually have games. Because nowadays, man, you go to a thrift shop, you don't find games anymore.
Well, my problem is the thrift stores I used to go to, they wisened up.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, these things are worth more than what we're asking. And so they jacked them up to eBay prices. I'm like, well, I'm not driving to your stinking thrift store if I can just sit on my couch and watch I
think
watch
I'm
TV
having
and
trouble
order
because,
there, so.
that's how it is. A lot of thrift stores I go to now, it's like, why even go out, and I could just get on eBay and buy these dang things. So
and
it's been really slow for me.
I hate buying on eBay, but if you're going to charge me an eBay price, I'm just going to buy it out on eBay out of spite.
Yep, exactly.
Of course, yeah.
What you been collecting, Ben?
Let's see. I got a couple of things. So while I've been trying to like get all my games kind of in cases for my little library in my office, I realized there's a couple games that I just didn't have that I thought I had. I don't know if you guys have ever ran across this. Like for the Sega Genesis, I always played all the Sonic games and loved them, but I realized I didn't have any of the Sonic games because I have them on so many other compilations. So I was just trying to get the original Sonic game, Sonic and Knuckles. So I was at a store. They had like a buy one, get one. So I got Sonic and Knuckles. And I also got this other game that's very good for the Sega Genesis called Comic Zone.
Oh, yeah. I love
Comic
that game.
Zone's
Yeah,
good.
so, and that one's spelled, if people ever look it up, it's like Comix. It's not spelled with a C or whatever.
That's the way they spelled it in the 90s.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah.
It's
okay,
extreme.
Extreme.
So Comic Zone's an actually really cool game because it takes place kind of in the pages of a comic, and your player kind of plays through with the background like jumping from page to page, little box to little box, and it's got an art style that,
It's like a beat 'em up.
Yeah,
it's
and there's
really
no other
awesome.
game that looks like
Yeah,
that.
and I remember playing
that's
it.
cool, man.
I remember playing it back in the day. So I saw it at the store, and I was like, "Yeah, sure, $10. No, no, that's it, no brainer." The other thing I got, it's kind of interesting because I really like the Game Boy Advance, as you guys know. I got something called a Game Boy Macro.
Macro.
Yeah, and so the Game Boy Advance came in the kind of original model. Then it had the SP, which is kind of a clamshell. And then they made something called the Game Boy Micro, where the Micro is kind of a little smaller piece, kind of rare, hard to find, but just a GBA, just on a really small 2.2-inch screen.
Yeah, it's small, man.
Really tiny. I've known some people who have like played through RPGs on that thing. I'm like, man, how do your eyes even work?
I played through Golden Sun on it.
Oh, wow.
On a Micro. Yeah, they're tiny, they're neat. But this Game Boy Macro is basically the other things that could play GBA games were the DS, the dual screen Lite, and then the original fat. We call it the fat DS, but the original DS.
It's not fat. It's big bone.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a BBW. What is it? What is that? BBW. Yeah, it's a BBW.
Yeah.
What's a BBW? What?
Big beautiful women.
Oh, okay.
It's a beautiful DS.
It's a big,
All right.
game system,
BBW. Yeah.
Now we know Shane's searches on his incognito mode of his browser. Anyway, so there's a guy out there, his name's, I think, Anthony Thomas, and he mods these things. He was on Kotaku, which is how I originally found him. He's an article of this guy who basically takes, so the DS is a dual screen system. The bottom screen will play your Game Boy Advance, and it's a really bright, larger screen. And what he ends up doing is kind of cutting the top half off, modding the rest of the case to kind of make it look like its own system. So it's kind of a wide body Game Boy Advance. And this guy has just, one-man operation. I think he's probably some sort of engineer or something. And he has to make these himself. So he has to find old DSs and, he puts stereo speakers in them. He makes it so the charger requires, the normal, phone charger, micro USB instead of the proprietary one. Nice. He'll make the buttons instead of 2 buttons, 4. And then the case looks like it was molded. So it's a kind of a high-end thing. It's a custom
super
thing.
Clean looking, yeah.
Yeah, and so I bought one of these things, and I got a gold version. And he basically has so if you want to find him, you look him up on, I think Facebook's an easy way to do it. And he has a mailing list to let you know when he sells these things. And he only sells them every couple months. And then when he does, it's only a handful. And then he sells out in probably an hour or two. Yeah. That's how... limited they are. And I remember I saw an email saying he's got a new batch up, and there's collectors and things. Again, this is kind of a more premium product, but I have it and I let you guys kind of play it a little bit, and I love the thing.
Yeah,
so anyway,
the thing sounds good, looks good.
Yeah, it's
professional.
Pretty.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty.
So his name's Anthony Thomas. I think you can find him on Nate Mods, NAT Mods, and if you just look up Game Boy Macro on Facebook, you can see his Facebook group. And I don't know if you check him out or get anything from him, just say you're sent by him by Video Game Dads. He'll probably appreciate it. But I told him I was going to do a little review. So he's a real nice guy, because actually when I got it, there was a dead pixel in it, which it wouldn't normally be a big deal. But the fact that, this thing is kind of a one-done kind of special product.
And you really want to show it off.
And that one dead pixel, again, if I got something at a garage sale, it wouldn't be a big deal. So I kind of messaged him. I'm like, hey, I appreciate it. I think it's great, but I got this dead pixel. And he said, no problem. I'll take care of it. Ship it to me. I'll pay, refund you for the shipping and everything, and even refunded me a little extra on top of that to take care of it over the holiday. And he was really easy to work with via email, and fixed it no problem. Got it back today, and it was great. He said he makes these things. He kind of, like anybody else, he's busy. He works full time. I don't even know if he's a dad, but he has limited time to do these things, and you could kind of see the step-by-step process where he paints them, molds them, and everything. So this isn't for everybody, but and some other modders do this, but he does a really good job with it and makes it look.
He's probably
like it's
one of the better
piece.
ones out there that probably does it, because it's super clean.
Yeah,
super nice.
And you can get whatever color scheme that kind of he pops up. He'll make red ones, white ones. But anyway, that's kind of my bigger pickup of the last week or two, this kind of Game Boy Macro. So if that sounds interesting, at least check it out. So moving on, I guess, what have you been playing, Adam?
So I've been playing a few different things. So you inspired me with the last podcast. And actually, I've been kind of meaning to get around to it anyways. I don't like playing digital only games just on principle.
Sure.
because I'm an old angry codger.
I know. We're
I don't like these digital games.
Yeah.
I like
we're
the
kind of
old
crazy
physical ones.
collectors. We have already established. Yep.
But so that's not to say I don't do it. So I downloaded Inside.
Inside the game I recommended last
which
week.
you had recommended, and I played it's not really a prequel. It's kind of a spiritual prequel, I suppose. Limbo. For anybody that's ever heard of that. And Limbo, actually, I really enjoyed Limbo. And Inside is very much in the same vein of an experience as what Limbo is. Limbo, the puzzles in Limbo I felt were a little harder actually than the ones in Inside. Inside is the puzzles are hard, but you definitely make you progress, a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit more.
So it's kind of a left to right platformer
Sort
with,
of, yeah.
with some puzzles.
Limbo has a lot of stops and starts where you'll get really stuck at a spot, or at least I did.
Yeah.
And Inside just is a little bit more fluid as you play through it.
Yeah. So what'd you think?
I really liked it, but
Yeah.
it's a disturbing game.
It is.
And I don't mean that it's scary
No.
or that it's creepy. Even
It's
really.
the deaths.
It's disturbing.
It's the deaths.
Yeah, it kind of is. And so, for anybody that hasn't seen it, your protagonist or the character you play as is just this small child.
Yeah.
He's maybe 10
Yep.
years old, little boy. And
an interesting art style too.
yeah, it's a very interesting art style. There's
it's
no
it's
dialogue.
Kinda,
It's
Tim
very-
Burton-y kind of.
Yeah, it's very
But I
dark.
wouldn't. That almost sells it short. It is a really beautiful looking game. It's kind of got a painted feel to
Yeah,
it.
it's understated, I think, is the maybe the term. But
Yeah, sure.
But really bad things happen to this little kid, and
Yeah.
it's kind of
In terms of like when you die, so like when Super Mario falls in a hole,
Yeah, he
you
just
just see him
disappears.
die, right?
Yeah.
But in this game, you would see Super Mario getting impaled on the spikes. That's what
Oh,
kind of you're
really?
saying about
Yeah,
those
yeah.
deaths. But go on, Adam.
So there's no real there's no text, there's no dialogue, there's
No.
no anything. It's just the story sort of happens, and it's kind of up to you to kind of figure out what's going on or put in your own story, I guess. And I don't want to give a lot of spoilers or anything in the game, but like they're at the beginning of the game, this isn't really much of a spoiler. You're clearly a fugitive, I think. You're running from the powers that be.
Sure.
Essentially, so a lot of the traps or the things that you have to avoid are getting caught, and it's also very clear that these other people who are after you are hunting you. Essentially,
and the dogs.
Yeah, and there's dogs that hunt you.
Yeah.
So it's like I said, it's very disturbing, and then so it's kind of disturbing the whole way through. The puzzles are actually really well thought out and work really well.
Yeah.
I feel like through the whole game.
Did you get to the water part?
I did
With the underwater little creature things?
Yeah.
Those creep me out.
Yeah,
'Cause
those are creepy little
The
dudes.
sound quality. The other thing about this is one of those games where the sum of its parts make it really good because the sound quality, like when you actually figure out a puzzle, I don't know if you noticed this, there's kind of like a little musical cue that happens when you, and it's real subtle. It's kind of like a 2 or 3 notes, real faintly, kind of lets you know, you figured it out as you're about to figure it out.
Yeah.
And there's no stuttering. There's no loading. There's no side steps. You literally go from left to right, going door and door through the whole game.
Yeah.
And there's
really?
no like stop. Even there's no title
there's
screen.
no new level.
Oh, really?
There's no
Yeah.
title screen. The only time you can look at any text is when you pause it.
So there's no save point? Is there save points?
No,
at all?
there-
It
there's
does-
save
it
points.
saves
Okay.
automatically, but
Automatically, yeah.
even in most games, how they have the little logo or something
doesn't
in the
do that.
corner saying that it's
Nothing.
saving, it doesn't do that.
Yeah,
That's cool. That doesn't break
yeah.
up flow at all then. I
Yeah,
imagine.
and it's like in the part that I was saying with these kind of, without giving any spoilers, this kind of water part. There's a little more kind of scary part, and they do this like that's
Yeah.
all it is. Just like something's kind of chasing you, and you hear this. Like this like breathing thing, and you're like, oh my god, like this
Yeah.
is a little intense.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of got like my wife from like reading her book and watching. She would kind of just be like, oh my god, get away from that thing.
Yeah, and and there are a few twists in the game where different things happen, and then there's a big twist toward the end, kind of thing. And again, I won't go into it, but it's the first game I guess I've played in a long time, or at least that I can remember that like after the fact I was like, I'm pretty sure I enjoyed that. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
I think I did, but boy, that was really creepy.
Yeah,
you know?
especially the
And-
ending. The ending, it kind of ends abruptly.
Yeah, and
But then when you think about it, I found out this too. The ending they spent a couple years on that last sequence from that last part where you're the thing. That last sequence they spent a long time on. The last 20 minutes of the game they spent like a good year and a half on, which is
really?
crazy. And then now that as soon as it ended, my wife's like, "What? What?" And it ends in a way that maybe you don't expect. But a lot of good things ended that way. And the more you're away from it, when I originally thought, that ending wasn't, satisfactory, I actually kind of grown to like it.
Yeah, no, I wasn't disappointed with the way it ended. I don't think. I did think it was interesting that because I was kind of like, I wonder who made this or where it was made or those kinds of things. And I know that there was an EU logo at the end. I think it was actually made in Denmark or a Northern European location. So I'm sure that some of the
And a small team too.
Yeah, small team, and so I'm sure that some of the thematic things in that game are sort of unique, maybe to that part of the world and that sort of thing. But it's definitely very different than anything that I've ever played made in the United States or Japan or the typical things that we typically play.
Yeah.
But it's just a lot different.
Yeah, really cool.
But super creepy.
Yeah. Play anything else?
So everybody has.
Every time I ask you this, it sounds like I'm pulling your teeth.
I know.
Yeah. Okay, so if you notice, if you go back on every episode, he starts out like this: like, "Have you played anything?" Yeah, I've been playing a few things.
No, but, I mean, so there's games that, in theory, I shouldn't like this game, but I do, and I don't even know why because it's so stupid a game. But it's really fun and it's addicting. But it's Borderlands.
Well, you said you liked it.
No, I don't know what it is about Borderlands, but there's.
You know who else likes that game?
Who?
Ice-T.
Old Ice-T.
Yeah, Ice-T is never wrong.
He would tweet about that game like crazy back in the day. Anyway,
really?
Yep, yeah.
So at any rate, so I played through Borderlands 1, played through Borderlands 2 multiple times, and then so I finally sat down and started on Borderlands the prequel this week.
Oh, okay.
But I've got the big box collector's set that's got like a bunch of extra garbage in it. Which
and like a remote control guy.
Yeah.
Have you played that yet? Have you?
No, he's still in his wrapper.
All right.
I'll get him out eventually.
Crazy collector. Okay, go ahead.
But at any rate, I started on the thing, but there's like several different heroes or protagonists you can choose from, and I'm having trouble figuring out which one I want to be. So I actually played a little bit of the game and then restarted with a different character because I thought I would like this other character better. But it's basically everything you would expect. It's just a lot of
Shooting.
Collecting and shooting and it's just kind of mindless fun, I guess. But I started that this week, and that's really actually all I've been up to.
Cool.
I'm going to be in a plane for a long time tomorrow, so I'm going to play some more Kirby Planet Robobot.
Yeah, that's one of your favorite games of the year, you'd say, huh?
Yeah, I really like it.
Yeah, that was good. We never really talked about that, like what our favorite game of the last, because we're not a media outlet. We're average guys. We have full-time jobs, as either raising our kids or what have you. So we don't get to play that many games, probably like a lot of our listeners too. But if you do, cherish that time because like anybody or any questions we get in, and I'm going to find out very, very soon with one kiddo on the way, you don't have much time to do that anymore once you get into your adulting age. But anyway, Shane, what have you been playing?
It's been sort of a slow week for me playing. Actually, my brother-in-law came over and we played. I borrowed Rush of Blood from you, and I had him play it, and I played the demo disc also. But when he left, I played Rush of Blood, or I tried to play Rush of Blood. I was trying to go to the third stage, but that game just scares the crap out of me.
Yeah, the way you're sounding right now, because you're sounding depressed.
I
like
am,
the way you're
because
talking is like
I want to beat
I
that.
played Rush of Blood, and then I was like, man, what is he leading up to? And I was like, oh yeah, it's freaking you out.
Yeah, it freaked me out. But man, I really want to beat it, but it's like I get into it, then like there's a baby crying. I'm like, oh God, this is one of my babies crying upstairs or something. So I'm freaking out. And after that, I was like, nope, I'm done.
No, I mean, to be honest, I need to put these on Twitter. I need to make little videos. I need to see if it's okay with the people I have. But I have a good 3 videos on my phone I showed you of like my friends being freaked out of that game. And to be honest, it's a little too freaky for me. There's one dude I had come over and he was stone cold, just shooting everybody.
Yeah, that's how my brother-in-law was. He wasn't even flinching. He was moving a lot, so I don't know if he maybe was like not seeing everything because he was just moving so quick.
And quickly describe Rush of Blood real quick for those that don't know what it is.
It's pretty much like a rail shooter. You're sitting in a cart and you go
kind of like you're going through a haunted house.
Haunted house, pretty much.
Except this haunted house is like
it's really haunted.
It feels like a horror movie.
Yeah,
like it's not like guys come out.
Yeah, it's like a B-rated horror movie. It's just on a track that you just keep going forward, and man, it's
grindhouse.
Yeah, man,
mannequins,
so
crazy stuff.
Yeah, mannequins, zombie. I mean, just all sorts of stuff, man.
Yeah,
it's good, but really, that's all I got to play. Pretty much that and Shinobi. It's been really life's been kicking my butt. So
sure,
with the new JOB, so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You talk a little bit about that. You've been doing you've been doing Uber a little bit. And you've been doing
Uber,
Lyft.
Yeah,
as well.
Lyft just got here, so I started doing that just a little bit.
Did that over New Year's.
New Year's.
Any drunk people?
Lots of drunk people.
Yeah.
Lots of drunk people. Nobody really too bad. It was actually, really good experience. I mean, the pay's okay. I mean, I love the hours because as soon as my kids. I help my wife get the kids to bed, and then I can head out and work. I'll work for about 2 or 3 hours, and then I'll come back home and then let her so she could go to bed, and then I take over. So
yeah.
It was a good experience. I was really surprised on how well behaved like a lot of people were, because I was like, man, New Year's rookie hour, it's gonna
barf
be
bags in the
yeah.
backseat.
I did I put barf bags in there because I was afraid.
Good for you.
Yeah, I was really afraid of that. I'm like, please don't puke. But everybody was really good, man. So.
Do they have like some sort of thing you can pick that's like like somehow your car is guaranteed, right? There has to be something like
there's a help button you could hit. So if they throw up in there that you go to customer support or something, then you click that you rate them a 1 star, and then you can say, hey, they puked in my car.
Yeah.
And then they'll have to pay for it for you to get it professionally cleaned. So, yeah.
Okay, 1 star for puking, and then so it goes, I'm not going to pick this guy up.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I think you get kicked out after like 4
You get 4 pukes before you're gone.
Yeah.
If you drop down to like a 4.5 star or something, or a 4, then you're kicked out as a driver and a rider.
Jeez.
Yeah, so if somebody rates you as a 1 star, you're pretty much gone almost.
Interesting.
Yeah, so watch out.
Yeah.
Both ways, I guess.
Yeah, no kidding. For me, I played a game called Abzu. If you ever heard of that. So Austin Wintory made a game called Journey. Have you heard of Journey?
Yeah, I heard of Journey, yeah.
So Journey is kind of a really kind of cool downloadable game. The music won a lot of awards. It won Game of the Year stuff a couple of years ago. And then the same creator made a game that's kind of like an underwater scuba game. And for someone who's scuba'd before, it's a very chill game, very neat, very pretty. Another one kind of like Inside, where it's like not traditional, like A to B, punch this guy, do this. The music's really good. It's one of those great examples of like our game's art. And it's kind of like if Echo the Dolphin met Journey or Inside or something like that. It's a real fun game. I didn't get a lot of chance to play because actually this is the week we started doing some of our baby things. Like, let's see, there was so the hospital makes you like do a tour, like we talked about that last time.
Yeah, which is totally worth your time.
Yeah, I know.
Totally.
And the other thing is like the birthing classes and also like breastfeeding class. And originally I thought like, the guys don't show up to the breastfeeding class, do they? And then I find out a buddy of mine.
Only the pervy ones.
Yeah, see, that's what I thought too. I was like, they don't want to be in there. Like, I'm like, hey, let's see how this happens. I'm the guy like, let me get a better look how this happens.
What's going on over here?
Yeah, or do I put on this apparatus? And we need a volunteer, and I raise my hand first. Yeah, I'd be that guy. No, that's kind of what I thought it would be. But then I talked to a buddy of mine who's the neighbor who just had the kid. He's like, no, like everybody had their partner there, and I was like, oh, okay. So like, yeah. And when we showed up to the class, there was a lot there. There was probably a good 10 other couples, maybe 15 other couples, and everybody had their partner there. So I told Laura right at the beginning, I said, okay, honey, I'm going to go because you want me to go. That's perfectly fine. But if I'm the only guy there, I'm going to just say, okay, I walked you in, love you, bye.
Yeah.
Boom, and then come back. But no, all the guys were there.
You're staying.
So that was fine. But what unfortunately happened was, so this place is at the hospital in a room where they have like, projector set up, multimedia, obviously they're going to play a movie or something, but the DVD player and the computer crashed. Like you go up there and you see like system down, needs to reboot, needs access key. And of course the lady working there is like amateur hour. And she's just like, I'm really sorry. Like from the get-go, she's like, I'm really sorry, guys. And keep in mind, this is like a 2.5-hour class on a weekday from 6:30 to 9. Dang. And, it's like you give up your night. Actually, we would have recorded the podcast that night. Yeah. So I was like, hey, guys, we got to kind of move things around because we got to go to this class. It's a one-time thing. And because the DVD player didn't work, the instructor of the class just kind of said, oh, we're just going to have to cancel and reschedule. And some of these women were about to pop. There was one with triplets who had to be wheeled in there. And I'm like, are you serious that, like, okay, I get this. Like, part of teaching nowadays is multimedia. But the fact that the DVD player doesn't work.
They could just give you a YouTube address.
Yeah.
Until you
could have worked that off her phone.
You check that out and then ask questions now. Yeah, so I thought if this is 2.5 hours, and then I thought, oh, maybe she didn't teach it. But then as she talked a little more, she says she's taught this class in like 3 or 4 different hospitals.
Oh boy.
And I'm like, are you serious? Like, and all she was saying was, hey, let's just reschedule. I'm really, really sorry. Let's just reschedule. And then she said, well, if anybody has any questions, so she opened it up to questions, and some people were like, well, yeah, let's ask some because we're here anyway.
What about that lady that's going to give birth here in 2 days? Like,
I know.
How's she going to get her refund?
That was actually the one that asked a lot of questions about certain things and techniques and things. And those that don't know, like breastfeeding isn't, cut and dry. Sometimes there's like issues, how to deal with issues that come up. It's all important stuff. But I just was flabbergasted. This lady didn't think like, okay, well, we lost the video. Let's teach the rest of the class.
Just teach.
But no, she just said, let's reschedule. So after her opening the floor to some questions, knowing that like they weren't going to go into any kind of depth, we ended up just leaving. We were the first ones to leave because it was kind of pointless, and we were just going to reschedule, and we got our money back. And they said, but I even was going to ask the lady, well, what's the DVD so we can just look it up or buy it or something on Amazon.
Just check out YouTube. You'd be all right.
Yeah.
You should just do a home birth and protest.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like, we're doing this at the house.
At the house.
But anyway, that was just that kind of took me off guard.
Yeah,
I was like not expecting that.
Yeah, that's crappy, man.
Yeah, it's one thing that it didn't work, but like make some lemonade out of those lemons, lady.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because it was cold. It was like the weather was going to come in, and like I said, there was a lot of people there. But I don't know.
So I have a similar experience, and I'll share a story.
Sure.
So Grayson, my son, is adopted, and so when you go through an adoption, there's a big long process, and it takes a lot of money and a lot of time. And there's a lot of people that have to be involved, and it's
I've heard
so it's kind of a cumbersome process just in general, but they also make you go to all of these education things, and. So, again, you have to watch videos. You have to go to, like, seminars. There are different places do it different ways. But one of the things that our adoption people had us do or required us to do was go to the hospital and actually go through here's how you take care of an infant without hurting them.
Really?
With this, so they made us go through new parent teaching just like any other new parents do.
Yeah.
And so they had us meet with the coordinator who teaches the same kind of class as what you're talking about. And so we show up, and I mean, some of us are going to get, eventually brand new infants. Some of us are going to get kids that are a little bit older or whatever, but they still make us all go to this infant class. And so we show up to this thing, and the woman just starts talking to us about the benefits of breastfeeding. And that she just keeps talking about the benefits of breastfeeding, and we're all just kind of looking at her like, that we're all here, it wasn't a mixed group. We were all prospective adoptive parents.
So the chances of breastfeeding.
So none of us are going to be a breastfeeding couples or anything in any way, shape, or form. Not going to happen. So physiologically, without some pharmacologic intervention, that's just not a possibility.
Yeah.
So somebody raises their hand and says, so just so that you're aware, I know that we've already talked about it a little bit, but all of us are going to be adoptive parents, so none of us will be breastfeeding. So can we please just move on to the rest of the talk?
Yeah.
And the woman says, well, I understand that, but breastfeeding is very important. And then proceeds to continue to tell us about breastfeeding for like the next 30 minutes.
Jeez.
And not only tell us about breastfeeding, but also tell us about how bad it is for your child to not breastfeed them.
Oh, man.
And how
really?
basically it's child abuse if you don't, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I know that there's a big push for breastfeeding, and I'm not demeaning it or diminishing the fact of breastfeeding, because it is better in general. But it was like a horrible, awkward Saturday Night Live skit, like The Office. You know, people who are just completely tone deaf to what's going on.
Yeah, that's just
room,
it. Bless their heart, the people that like work a little bit too hard at their job and like I don't know if they take it too seriously or they just got blinders on. That reminds me, do you mind if I give my little story about little? Sure. So I was making, as you guys know, I'm making like the custom cases, and I'm printing out the labels. Well, something about printing out the labels of these games, and you're just kind of printing them out like a sleeve, like a DVD sleeve off of these websites, is, you know, there's some copyright issues with that. Yeah. Now, that in mind, these games are like 30 years old, so where you can get them printed, because I found out printing them at home was way too expensive because it runs through the ink too much. You can get them done for like, 20, 30 cents or whatever per page if you go to like FedEx. And you can go to these things and self-serve yourself by like putting in the USB drive and then printing them out yourself. So I had this whole plan. I had all my files on the thing. I was going to print them out. I texted you guys when this happened. So I just got off work. I worked like the day after New Year's. Like solid, and I was like looking forward to going to the FedEx office and like printing these things out. So I go there, get to the self-serve thing, put in my USB drive, and it doesn't let me select a bigger paper size. And I called them earlier and they said, yeah, it loads, it's the same, it'll let you do the bigger paper size. So which is legal. So those who don't know, like the normal, whatever it is, 8x14, this is like 8x17 or something like that, is the legal size. And they said, oh, legal's loaded. And evidently, if you're loading it off a USB, it won't let you do legal size. And that's that's the beginning and end of it. Now, don't ask any questions why or how, because those are silly questions. The point is it doesn't work. So that's what I found out when I talked to the manager. The guy was nice as soon as I came in. And when he realized it, he's like, oh yeah, it won't work because it's off USB. And then I want to be like, oh yeah, of course. Like, how am I supposed to do that? So then he said, he said, and he was actually started out really nice. And he said, but we'll take care of it for you. But then I was into the day. I was just so frustrated because my brain was like, they better not, give me any crap because I was going to do it myself. Hopefully they won't claim any kind of copyright issue or anything like that. Yeah. So, he said I'd have to wait in line or something. I was like, I just don't want to wait. And he ended up taking care of it and went to the computer for like 10, 15 minutes. He said, there are all the files in here. Do you want to all print it off? I said, yeah. So he goes and messes with the computer for a while, and I'm just looking through the store, looking at tape and nothing because, it's a copy place. There's not much to do in there. And he comes back to me, and he's like, so... these are kind of like Game Boy games and things like that. And unfortunately, due to copyright, we're going to need a release from these companies. And I just looked at him like, you have got to be kidding me.
Quit taking your job so seriously.
Well, this guy too, like, okay, he's a little overweight. His hair is a bit disheveled. He's got glasses on. He's my kind of guy. He's a nerd. Like he's a little too old to have pimples, and he's got pimples. Like, this isn't the guy that's going to claim copyright.
You're my dog. Come on,
man. Like, are you kidding me right now? So he comes back and says, I can't print these out because of the whole and I haven't said, this is for my nephew, but like, we're printing out this thing. This is like a project. I own all these games, so this shouldn't be a problem. I could show you pictures on my phone that I own these games. This is for me. I'm not selling this. And also, these games are 30 years old. There's no money.
They're not making any money off
And so he said, yeah, I know, but I'll still need a release. And I'm like, what, from Nintendo? Asking them for me to print out.
We should drive to Redmond, Washington, and show up.
I'm just like, listen, people, I get doing a good job and doing your job well, but there's also a difference why you don't always put the old person checking your credit card, because they're also the ones that, like, if your name's not on the back, they want to see two forms of ID, where they just want to do they overly they don't see the big picture. They just see the little picture of like there's copyright. And if he would have came to me and it just really grinded my gears. If he would have said something like, listen, I know it shouldn't be a big deal, but like my boss reviews everything we print up here behind the desk. So if he were to see all these things and see who helped print them, I might get in trouble. Yeah, if he would have came at me like that. Yeah. But no, he was kind of the head honcho, and he kind of just lacked any kind of empathy to
to your Game Boy needs.
Yeah, this wasn't like these were professional photography stuff. It wasn't like and they were all different. It's not like I was doing 50 of one. They were obviously just for my collection of these 30-year-old games. So I was super bummed out. I texted you guys some expletives about it, just like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Because the chances of that happening were really slim. But then I ended up going to Office Max, and boy, was that just, it's one of those like times where it was like everything then came together. I tried like, well, what the heck? Office Max is on the way home. And ended up going there. There was the girl behind the counter, and she was chill. She looked like she woke up and maybe had a little bit of the reefer that morning. Like, she was just a chill chick.
Smoked it, dude?
Yeah, and I instantly gave her the thing, and I was even going to bring up the whole, like, I tried to have this done somewhere else, but then I just like, let's just see how this plays out. I gave them to her, didn't bat an eye, just, like, printed them out. She was able to resize them a little bit or get them the right landscape, and, like, the first one she printed out was a little too big, and she just took care of it. Wasn't a big deal, and, like, had them all printed off. And then the couple that didn't print out correctly, they fixed those. And it was like not an issue. No one batted an eye. So anybody that goes and has this done, have it done at Office Max.
Office Max.
Because that's a whole lot better than our other cab. But anyway, that just reminded me of people who kind of take their job a little
like
too
that movie,
seriously.
Office Space. Have you ever seen Office Space?
Oh, yeah. But which part?
Did you get the memo?
Oh, yeah.
About TPS reports?
Oh, it's just like, in the long run, you got to, choose your battles, people. Sometimes it's worth.
Well, that's the thing. It's sort of like, taking your copy job just a little bit too seriously.
Yeah.
Just chill, man. Just chill.
Anyway, but those are the big things.
Yeah, it sounds like he's well on his way to being a TSA agent.
Yeah,
he'll be great.
Yeah.
As a TSA agent.
I guess so, yeah. And we still need to see what else. We need to see, movie-wise, I told about how Assassin's Creed was terrible. Still need to see Rogue One. The only one of us that has actually watched it is you, Adam. You said it was real good.
I really liked it. Yeah. I think it's the best of the
newer Star Wars. Yeah.
Post the original 3.
Yeah, post the original 3 Star Wars movies.
Okay.
I think it's easily the best, actually. And the thing that
people say that, but then you have to think, really, that just means they're better than the prequels in one other movie. Yeah. And the prequels kind of don't count. So it's really just, it's a little bit. It's better than
Episode 7. Hands down, it's better than Episode 7. The thing that, like, kind of gets me about the movie is I know that in the lead up to it and everything, they're like, Rogue One, a Star Wars story, or a separate standalone. It's not a separate standalone Star Wars movie. Like, it's a Star Wars movie.
Oh, really?
I don't understand why they. It seems like Disney or whoever is in charge of like the Star Wars universe kind of thing, like for some reason wanted to distance Rogue One from the rest of the series. Which I don't really understand because it's better than most of the rest of the series. So that's kind of something that's a little bit perplexed me somewhat. And it's also not a standalone movie. Like, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but it totally ties in with the rest of the movies. Like, it's a prequel to Episode 4. That's what it is.
Yeah. And that's not a spoiler. That's in the trailers for the most part. They're saying it's like it's plans for the Death Star. That's in the
it's the
anything more than that would be a spoiler.
Yeah, it's the prequel to Episode 4. It is a Star Wars movie. It goes right between Episode 3 and Episode 4, and so to say it's not a Star Wars story or something kind of seems a little bit goofy, to me in general. But it's really good. It's the first movie that I can remember in a long time that I've watched where like the whole time I was kind of like. I don't want to maybe wow factor's the right word. Like none of the special effects or anything are just like whoa, but like everything in that movie was just good.
Good, that's good.
Yeah.
Good.
So it's filmed more like the old ones were. It's not, it doesn't have the kind of fight scenes that like say a new Marvel movie or something like that's going to have. It's just a good solid movie with a good solid story. So I personally really enjoyed it. And I know that they actually refilmed like half the movie at some point.
I heard there were some development
when they were
issues.
making. Well, I think it came out darker than they wanted it to be or something, and so
Yeah.
they went and refilmed it to kind
That's what I was going to ask. Does it seem like it's a darker
It is.
kind of?
It is a darker movie.
Okay.
I wouldn't say. Actually, I don't think it's as dark as Empire Strikes Back or Episode 7.
Yeah.
I think both of those movies are darker than Rogue One.
So it falls in a nice spot then.
Yeah, so
okay.
it's kind of, and Star Wars kind of in general, people don't talk about it too much, but it's a really dark movie series just in general. Like there's a lot of really heavy kind of gnarly themes in that movie just in general about death and family and, you know, and betrayals and so on and so forth. But it's kind of a dark series just in general. But no, I don't think it's, and maybe that's just because they reshot a lot of it. I mean, maybe it was, you know, very, very dark to begin with, but
any other news or anything like that? This week is kind of a quicker week because we'll have a turnaround of the other episode.
Yeah.
We had an episode in between the holidays.
Yeah.
I check a lot of the websites and everything every day, and I think right now, I mean,
It's a little bit of a lull after the
there's
holiday
just
lull.
there's just not a whole lot going
We're going to
on.
find out a little bit more about this Nintendo. I was going to call it the Stitch, the
Switch,
Nintendo
the
Switch,
Switch.
the Nintendo Switch. We're going to get more details about that.
Yeah, so I guess the
Is it
12th
Jan 12th? Yeah, that we'll
Yeah,
see.
I think
Great,
the 12th
so-
is when Nintendo, and I'm sure it'll be on Facebook and everywhere else.
So our
as soon
next
as it
episode, we'll
happens.
talk about that. We'll talk about the new.
And I hear the day after, actually, they're supposed to have a separate series about the games that are coming out. Like I think
Oh, really?
one day it's supposed to be
It's about time. This
Hardware.
thing's
Yeah, it's
this
kinda like
thing's
a
2
hardware
months
thing,
away.
and then-
Yeah.
and
Like
then
for being
the
2
next
months
is-
away, they need to
There
release some
have
stuff.
been there have
I
been
haven't seen anything. This is crazy.
well, it's
Yeah.
kind of weird. Like you get on IGN here lately, and they'll say, "Oh, so and so game's not coming out for the Switch." And I always think, I don't care.
Well, now Zelda's coming back out as a launch
Yeah, and
game. I
they-
seen today.
Yeah, they
Good.
say Zelda's
Really?
moved back up, and then
Good.
But like Mass Effect Andromeda is not supposed to be a Switch game. At
Oh
least
darn,
yeah.
that would have been a good
And-
one.
Yeah,
and,
I'm hearing conflicted things about the graphic power now. It's
Yeah,
as
nobody
powerful as a
knows.
PS3, and then some people are saying it's powerful as a PS4. It's like, come on,
I know.
Yeah,
what's
we need
going
to.
on?
We'll find out when Ben Heck, this guy who, if those that don't know, he's like this perfect mix of a guy with personality and he's like a genius. Where most of the time both of those aren't a thing, and he like takes things apart and is able to kind of find out what makes things tick. He took apart the PS Pro and he was pretty impressed by that. As far as like some of the stuff in there, he was like, "Whoa, this is like." Pretty souped up, hey, and then like the Wii, he just like this is kind of a GameCube with an extra chip, and the Wii U, he really was not impressed with the Wii. He hated the Nintendo Wii as far as like what was in there and how it was designed, and he likes how like consoles, the artistry of how the chips are designed, all this stuff over my head. I'm not a tech wizard, tech nerd, and the way he can like figure out like, oh, this chip right here means this, and we can bypass this and this mods things. But anyway, his name's Ben Heck. He's been around forever. Anybody kind of in the video games knows about him, but he's he's made his own pinball machine, if that tells you how smart this guy, like a full-size pinball machine based on Bill Paxton. Do you guys know about this?
on Bill Paxton.
On Bill Paxton.
So of all the things that you could make your own pinball,
Yeah, he basically made a pinball about Bill Paxton and all the movies he did in the 80s, and then had references of it, like a beer can crushing and how he's in Weird Science and all that. You guys got to check it out. Yeah.
And does he have the short squatty Todd from?
I mean,
after
probably.
he gets transformed.
He has a lot of quotes from it. He has. You guys should check it out. It's just like
awesome.
it's so
Twister,
random.
Is Twister on the pinball?
I think maybe
Probably.
Yeah, but that was Paxton right now.
I've got a funny story about Twister. Well, that's not really a funny story, but it's an anecdote, I suppose.
Go ahead.
So nearby where I grew up, they filmed Twister in northeastern Oklahoma.
Oh.
And so I knew some people who lived in one of these small towns where all those, like when they're driving through the cornfields and stuff.
The suck zone.
Yeah, it is. It's like the armpit of the world. Out
It
there.
was
There's-
the suck zone. That's what
there's
they said.
Yeah, there's not like I don't like it out there either. It's not a sorry.
Has anybody seen an
Northeast Oklahoma
F5?
/
Only one of
Southwest
us.
Kansas. But
Sorry.
at any rate, down in all these cornfields, like some of my friends were like playing basketball, like on a outside like just cement slab basketball court kind of thing.
Yeah.
And apparently they were filming like on the edge of town or whatever. And they were out playing basketball, and then like Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt and most of the cast in the movie, like between takes or whatever, they were just like goofing off and went and played pickup ball.
How cool.
With
Really?
some of my
That's
friends
awesome.
out at this just in this podunk town in the middle of nowhere. So that was like their story, is that they got to play, horse with
Helen Hunt.
Yeah, with Helen Hunt.
Helen Hunt had a mean crossover, broke their
I
ankles.
guess. I don't know, but I always thought that was kind of funny because we were pretty young at the time, and it was kind of cool. I felt like a second hand or a celebrity by
knowing that
some
story.
order of removal.
Oh man, I like that. But that was quite a phenomenon back then. Like when it came out in 1997, I'm pretty sure.
It was all that flying cow, man. Everybody liked the flying cow.
Oh, there's another one. I think it's the same one.
Yeah.
It's funny, actually. That scene particularly. This doesn't work because might as well be radio because you can't see it. But if you ever watch that movie again, you skip to the scene with the flying cow. There was something that a buddy of mine noticed in high school. If you look like the flying cow, they're like on a road that's in the middle of a lake and it's raining. And then when you cut to them looking at the flying cow, whoever did the editing, if you look behind them, the entire road, like behind their faces, it is not raining and it's sunny out. And there's no cows and they're not by a lake. And it's really funny because my buddy was watching. He's like, wait a second, let me rewind it. And there's a lot of editing. And obviously that movie started the whole disaster flick where they came up with Dante's Peak,
they
Deep
just started
Impact.
going.
And then, eventually we were obsessed with destruction. At that point, which was like the 90s were actually a good year. We were kind of like, hey, let's see what happens when things go wrong. And we turned it into entertainment. Nowadays, sometimes people get so bummed out. We always like the flicks that are like uplifting and things. It's funny how that works. But if you haven't seen Twister, it holds up in a really weird way. And the late Philip Seymour Hoffman as sucks. We require food. Like he's just such a weird character. And you didn't think he's like almost. He won an Oscar or something, right? Didn't he?
He did.
Capote. Capote.
I can't say Capote. Capote. Yeah, peyote. Yeah. Oh man, but anyway. All right, so let's see. Our video game book club, we decided to pick what game again?
Legend of Kage, spelled Kage.
Yes, and who requested that?
That was Dan from the Dan and Cody
Okay,
podcast.
so Dan requested Legend of Kage. Congratulations, you are our video game book club pick of the next week or two. We'll probably come back and we try to, it's hard. We're trying to keep these things somewhat consistent when they come out. We try to do. It's either going to be every week or every 2 weeks. And for the most part, if we go, like, let's say...
We're doing about 3 a month.
Yeah, about 3 a month. So if I think a lot of people, maybe we haven't had it yet, but you always try to have your podcast come out at a certain time. We will try to be consistent. But if you notice that we had 2 come on in 2 consecutive weeks, you could probably guarantee we're going to skip a week just because it might be hard for us to get together. But for the most part, we'll do every other week, bi-weekly. We were trying to say weekly. I think a couple of episodes would be like our weekly independent podcast. Like, we maybe can't pull that off. But we appreciate all the likes, all the comments, emails, things like that. We appreciate the support. It's been overwhelming for us. And like I said, we're just happy anybody's listening. And then any thoughts, suggestions we'd like. What's our email, Adam?
It is videogamedads@yahoo.com.
And our Facebook?
It's facebook.com/videogamedads.
He's still so sad after Rush of Blood.
Yeah.
Facebook.com.
I'm getting tired, man.
I know, yeah.
I'm done.
Yep. All right. Well, anyway, and our Twitter is @VideoGameDads. So see if you can play that game in the next week or so. Next time, we're actually going to take this show on the road. We will probably have this down in my basement. And our next topic will likely be, we don't normally have this decided, but we're going to talk about some arcade memories, guys.
Arcade memories?
Yeah, so we were, nowadays, these kids don't understand. We used to have things like Aladdin's Castle. I guess they still have some arcade games with
now, if you go to
Showbiz
an arcade
Pizza.
Now, if you go to an arcade now, it's nothing but freaking redemption games.
Yeah, redemption, ticket gambling.
It's all just to get them to the casino.
Chunky cheese, man.
Fruit
Chunky
Ninja.
Cheese.
Yeah, the Fruit Ninja one's actually kind of fun. I kind of like that
Pirates one at Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, there's some. I played a Jurassic Park one that's like new, came out in 2016.
That one actually is cool
too.
That one is amazing. It's brand new. Yeah. I played the heck out of that when we went to Niagara Falls. There's a new Batman one anyway, but for the most part, the arcades of the past are not there. So we're going to talk about some memories around my own arcades in my basement. We've got a few down there. Yeah. We'll take some pictures of that, show off the old basement, pinball machines, things like that. So, any arcade memories you guys have, that'd be something to email into us. But I think that'll wrap us up for this episode number 5. Thanks, guys. Good episode.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you
All
for
right,
listening.
happy New Year 2017. Everybody take care, and we will see you next time. And episode 5 is in the books.
All right. Thank you. If you enjoyed that music, please check out Evan King on Bandcamp for further details, and you can download some for yourself. Thank you.
Bye-bye.